to make, if possible, anything clearer for us.
Oh, excellent. Well, I believe they already know that English is not your first language, and so if they could assist you with that right from the very beginning, that would be amazing. And if you could just welcome Dolores then, if you will.
She's stretching her hands over the table to me, and I grab her hands.
Oh, very nice.
And it's a loving feeling. She's smiling and I'm smiling.
And
She's happy to be able to use this possibility to make her voice heard, and are ready to answer any questions.
oh, beautiful. Well, tell her I'd like to thank her very, very much for coming through like this. We both are very appreciative.
You're welcome, and I know that you're doing a great job with this method that I developed, and think it's wonderful that it's reaching out to so many.
She's very welcome. Very, very welcome. And first, I'd just like to give her an opportunity. If there's anything that she would like to say, any message that she would like to give to anyone who may be listening to these sessions, first and foremost, first of all. So if she had anything.
I want to clarify that this type of sessions is still under development, and is developing every day to reach out to more and more people on this level. And I can see with my heart that it's doing good. Now I can see how it's working the way I couldn't perceive it before. And that's a privilege for me to be able to be so close connected to this even now. And it makes me a happy person to be involved still in this. I started my work rather early, but not in this method until the year of 2002. And from there it has developed and became these QHHT methods that I am now very happy to see having that big impact on many people.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. I have been accused of leading the clients, and because they're stuck, I believe they're stuck in the thought that it has to be done this way and it has to be done this way, and it's written in stone that it should only be done a certain way. But had I not led him to you, or had led him into this and speaking to you like this, what do you feel about you have to do somewhat leading? Like, I'll give an example. A person cannot hear once they're there, so I tell them there's a glass of water, they drink the water, now they can hear. Or there's earphones hanging on the wall, they pick up the earphones and now they can hear. What do you think about me leading them in that direction, or in that way?
I think that worked excellent, because when you do this affirmation for them, you make them to take another step to a higher level, that they are in their own mind blocking, and when you give them tools, whatever tool it is, you make them to take another step. And that is a good method that I like very much. And you should not take any notice in what other people think about your work. As long as you feel you do it with the right intention and with your heart in the right place.
Thank you very much for that. I won't speak on that anymore. You've said it perfectly, and I appreciate that. I wanted to ask you about some of the interviews that you've had, that you've said, because I've heard so many of your interviews. And my first question was, you used to reply to, Gaia going into the fifth dimension, and you said the human beings were like fleas on a dog's back, and it always made me smile when you said it. But at the same time, I felt like that we were a part of Gaia, and that of course she's our mother, and that she really, I think that she would care that we would come with her, and you would always say that she didn't care. How do you, now that you're on the other side, how do you feel about that when you say we're fleas on a dog's back?
I think I was right in one way, that we are fleas in that sense that we are many entities working on this limited space, as we call the Gaia, the Earth. And also my thinking was that if we not stop doing harm to our environment and do what we do today with pollution and all that thing, Gaia can just, as a dog, decide to shake us off like fleas from a back.
Very good.
I can also say that I am so pleased to see that so many is waking up, and to be able to feel all the work that is put into this, not only by your humans here, but from our friends in space that are in right attention doing this great work together with us, and that it's expanding more and more for every day possible.
Excellent. Excellent. Great answer. Okay, here's my second question. New Earth, now that you're on the other side, you would describe the New Earth as the Earth dividing like a mitosis in a cell. How do you see that now that you're on the other side? How would you explain it to us? Because you remember how everyone would always ask you over and over, how is that going to happen? How is that going to happen? Could you explain it again now that you're on the other side, you think in a different way possibly?
Yes, I can say that I see this in a little different way now, because I was seeing so many was divided up into what we can say believers and skeptical, but I now realize that skepticals, that the people working to hinder or set some obstacle in way for this is not going to succeed, because that energy will be run over, so to speak, with the other love energy, because there is no higher energy or state than the energy of love and understanding and respect.
Oh, excellent. Excellent, excellent. Here's my third question. Could you, not so much a question, but more like, now that you're on the other side, could you describe it to us? I know so many people are wondering, like, for instance, did you get a life review, and how did that play out?
I did not get that in that sense you're thinking, but I was given the opportunity to view it myself and to see just what I wanted to see, if I had missed something important and what I could done instead of what I did. But there is no judgment. It's just you realizing, like a moment of, aha, I see, I feel, I understand. And it's a lovely feeling because so many things become so obvious for you. And just the lack of judgment is so good, because we are judged on this planet so many times during our life. We are judged in school, we are judged in work situations, and we are judged by our friends. And to be able to perceive everything like it is, like it was, and with no judgment, was so wonderful feeling, because in your inner being, in your inner energy, and in your subconscious, you know what your purpose was. And now it's revealed for you how far you did go and what path you did go. And that's a wonderful thing.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And so, with that being said, how do you see karma now? Because you used to say, you have to go back, you will decide on this side, and you go back and you have to do it over and over and over. And I've always been under the impression that karma was just the opposite of, what your true intentions were. And like you just said, now that you see it from a different perspective. But how do you see the wheel of karma? Because you said there were people stuck on it, and I'll just leave it there.
I can say so much that my thought of karma was coming out of my sessions, that I repeatedly get clients that was stuck in a rotation movement from in and out of life. But I now can see that there was searching perfection. There is not such thing. There is no perfection in anything. It just is a flowing energy, and anything is possible. And I can see now that karma does not have that big impact on us, because we should accept that this was a judgment, that you didn't do this right. You had to do it again and again. And that's not the way it works. And that's a relief, because karma has no impact on us now. It had earlier in our history, because we were sent back not to learn our lesson, but to learn the lesson for the higher frequency, for the source, and for the curiousness that is out here. And we were doing that by our own heart and by free will, but it was ourselves that chose to repeat it over and over, because many of us did not have that direct connection that we are now receiving in this transition into a higher frequency, where we become so much more obvious what we have done and what impact we have, and it will be so clear. We no longer have the need to lie and perceive and to be a dishonest person, because we know what the purpose is going to be, and we know what purpose it has for the universe and for the source. So karma is not that important anymore.
Excellent. That was, I've always believed that, and I always was like, Dolores, but you're saying it from, okay, anyway, that was excellent. That's going to help a lot of people. I appreciate that tremendously.
I am a human. I was a human. I was not born.
Oh, no, I totally understood. Trust me, I totally understood. So I always just smiled whenever you said it. But I figured once you got there, I said she'd figure it out. And so this is a good thing. Okay, here is my next. What is your biggest misconception of what you received through your sessions and to where you are now that you can see the big picture and a much more expanded view? The biggest misconception.
I can now understand that people received more knowledge, and so to speak, download, than was ever be able to come out of the sessions. And sometimes I felt that people were stuck in a thought pattern, so to speak, that was hindering them to receive whatever they needed to receive, and to give whatever they needed to give. But I can now see that that was not the case. They received so much more than ever could be revealed into the session, and they wakened up from this long time after the session is finished, and they taking in this knowledge also a long time after the session is ended. And that I now can see, and that made me even more happier.
Oh, excellent. So just like, may I interject?
Absolutely.
Just like when Lars does a session, in the very last session that we did with him, they said they will never disconnect from the way that they've connected to him in these many sessions from previously.
That is the case with most of you, but you are choosing to not see the connection, but you all have it. And in this case you're talking about, he was so much aware of the connection after the session was finished. And I can say he was very, very surprised by this, that he was able to open and close the connection at will, and it made him rather happy. And he talked about he was talking about, if I remember that right, and he was talking about a big warehouse with a little flashlight.
Yes.
And he felt that he can turn out the light to see the whole picture, to receive whatever he needs to receive, whenever he wants to, and he's done so many times. And you're all able to do this, and more of you are getting this information that you can connect whenever you want, and the closer you come to this higher vibration, the more you will be aware of it.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. I wanted to know, or here's another question. Have you met Jesus and the entity called Jesus? And could you elaborate on that if you would?
my inner being is very curious.
Yes.
And of course I wanted to see all the archangels and Jesus and Maria and all the other entities we have in our perception.
Yes.
But I can also say that I perceive them in a total different way that is told in any books or any tellings before. They are just very high frequency, direct connected to the source, which is not the same as God. We can call it a God source, but it's just a need for people to have a reference point to understand what we're talking about. It's so much more. And these beings are so knowledgeable, and they know so much, and they are so loving, so wonderful. And of course, I wanted to meet them, and I did.
Excellent. And I know you already spoke about Jesus before, and the question was asked, was he hung on the cross, and did he actually die, or did he actually go? Is the, maybe controversial, is the one they call Jesus, did he have a physical life on the planet Earth, and
he had, but the story is not told the right way.
Understood.
The story about a man hanging on a cross is not the true story. The true story was he was a very knowledgeable man that spread love and respect. But it was in a time where there was a lot of hostility around him. So he chose to leave that timeline, but he's still working in the same way, but in another level.
Ah, very good. Thank you. And what about the Buddha? Have you had an opportunity to meet that entity?
I have not.
Oh, very good. Okay.
But it's never too late.
I'm just like you. I'm extremely curious. And so in these sessions, I've met so many people or so many entities from literally all over the universe who said that I had been connected with them, and that I actually helped them in their ascension process. And of course, at first I was like, well, it's really hard to believe, but it kept coming out over and over. And as you can tell, I would do the session for free, and then I'd say, may I ask questions at the end? Whereas you said they vetted you out and asked you after a session, they asked, oh, were you the right one? And you were the right one. And then they started giving you information. Whereas when I did it, I just said, okay, I'm going to go in and get the people what they want. And since I'm doing it for free, then ask questions. And you probably know I was doing that. How did that make you feel?
I see no wrong in that, because if it's meant to be that you are going to be answered, it's meant to be.
Yes.
You're never going to be answered if you don't ask the question.
And I'm very curious like you are.
We are aware of your curiousness, and you are all over the place at the same time, everywhere we meet you. And we all love you so much, and we love your work you're doing.
Oh, thank you.
And be aware of not involve your ego or your mind too much. Use the right side of your brain.
No.
And you're doing this so very nicely.
Thank you. I have a lot of love in my heart, and I'm like you. I am curious, but my biggest reason for doing this is to wake people up to understand and know that there's so much more than what they ever were told, and probably will ever be told by anything mainstream in the short-term future. But I think in the long-term future, that truth is coming forward, and which is why I am posting these sessions and doing what I'm doing. And so I know you can read my heart from where you are. So
we see your beaming out. We see your light. We see your energy. And we like what we see. And we are aware of every human being on this planet have its limited resources, but you are one of them that getting a lot of help from your higher self and from the source. You are all the time guided and helped and healed and taken care of in a very lovely way that we are happy to receive.
oh, thank you. I have a question. Just because in a session it was told, and maybe you have a much better perspective just being human, so it's really interesting speaking to someone who hadn't been in a human form before. And this is not an egoic question, but they said, and because you just said it and it sort of made me think of it, they said there was 57,000 expressions of myself on the planet. Do you know what that means from your perspective?
We can say that so much that is, it's just a number, but it's also so many frequencies and so many places and so many, what do you call it, so many connections you have had and do have on this planet under a very long time. So in a way you have this expression can be whatever you have been touching with your heart. And that is much more than this 50 and more. It's much more than that.
Okay, I was just curious. Okay, very good.
I hope you understand, because it's sometimes hard to express what the saying of these aspects. It's just you, but you can be all over with your energy, and you are touching on so many points on this planet, on so many persons or entities or being or humans, whatever you want to call it.
Understood.
And you are sending out your energy in so many directions and in such good way that you're doing a great job, and you're appreciated for that here in my reality and in the highest status.
Very good, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. And here's another question. Is there any such thing as the fallen one? And what does that really mean, the fallen one?
There's no fallen one, because there is no judgment. There is the judgment you put on yourself. If you had a life that you revealed for yourself, it takes longer time for you to heal and to accept who you were and what you did. But you are never judged in any way. You are your own judge, and that's just to get knowledge and nothing else.
That's what I thought. I thought they call it necessary evil. And I use the term necessary evil because I think that in order for you to have a physical experience, you have to have contrast or the opposite of what you are, like the yin and the yang. So it's not a bad thing. It's just what it takes in order to physically manifest and to have this particular type of experience.
It's just another way to experience feelings, because the best way to experience feeling is a human body, because the humans have these emotions and learning from them, and have decided to learn from them in very many aspects in their life. And there is nothing like we can perceive it like they were an evil person and they should burn and all that thing we put on them. But it's our own judgment. They have another lesson to learn, and learn for themselves and learn for the collective. So even if you can perceive anything evil, they will reconsider that after they pass over to this energy level.
Excellent. I understand that wholeheartedly. I just hope everyone else does. And so then with that being said, Satan or Lucifer, have you investigated that since you've been on the other side? Or what is your perspective on those so-called entities?
I can say I have never met him. And I think if he was some entity, I should be able to meet him, but I have not.
Ah.
I think that is just another way to put fear into your human being. Because putting fear into you and have you act like they want, the entities that want to have control over you, use so many different ways to do this. And I believe that Satan is just another way to do that.
Understood, and thank you very much for that. Okay, so those were my first questions. You told me I just had a desire to ask you some questions, a few questions about the extraterrestrials and extra dimensionals that are helping on the planet. Are you up for just a few?
Sure.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sheldon Nido. A lovely man, I think. And he's saying that he's been having these connections for years. I mean, physical connections going on ship. And he's been making a lot of predictions of late. And I'm not trying to debunk him or anything like that, I promise you. But some of the things that he's said, of course, they're like amazing. Do you imagine, or from your perspective, do you possibly see at the point where we're actually having interactions with the extraterrestrials, that we would go into light chambers? Are you familiar with any of that at all from your perspective? Light chambers to help us get to raise our vibration to full consciousness. I keep hearing that in lots of channelings, but I've heard it from Sheldon first.
You are receiving a lot of help with this transition in many different levels and from many different entities. But we can also say that it's not so that everything will happen at once. I cannot tell that I have knowledge of what this man have spread, but we can say that you are receiving assistance, and you are, when you're reaching higher frequency, much more aware of these different if you want to call them entities, or our space family,
Yes.
or our connections around us, you will be so able to communicate with them in a total different way. You can that already. Sit still on a meadow one evening and ask for them to come, and they will come. They listen and hear you when you talk with your heart, and you're talking about telepathy, and that is the way we use here to talk. We don't have a mouth to talk. We have to use your mouth to talk. But we communicate in a different way, and that you will be aware of really soon is possible for you all. And that is also good, because when you stop talking in that way, you just communicate in a level that shut up a lot of that shattering going on in your mind.
Very good.
And the connection will be more clear for you. It's not like a lot of, it's typical for the American people to think they are in the center for this attention, but this energy is all over the planet, in every angle, in every way, in every place. At the same time, but they are not going to land on the White House lawn. Why should they? That's not an interesting place for these entities and energy. Why should they talk to people that are not, that are having debunked them for so long? Why should they take that connection? It's never going to happen that way. It will be for all of the mankind in a way that you least expecting, but in a very, very thoughtful, lovely way.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And so, are you familiar with the avians? The avians, which are bird-like entities that have a very high vibration, that they say that have come to help out. I'm just curious about, we're hearing all of these different entities.
These entities can take whatever shape they want when they approach you. And this avians you're talking about is a name given from humans.
Yes.
We have not that kind of naming. We have this kind of, we feel each other. Or if you say, I see you, then you say, I see your inner love, I see your inner quality. It's a way of perceive each other. You don't go around and present yourself with name, and neither do the entities, because they communicate in a total different way, with giving you feelings, giving you visions, and so on. And they can take shape of cats, they can take shape of monkeys, they can take shape of everything they want. And some people on Earth, I understand, talk about these cat entities, these light beings, and all they are is light and love. And they can take whatever shape they need to take, and sometimes that they manifest in a physical body, just like you or everyone else on the planet. And you cannot distinguish them from anyone. But there are entities that working in different fields that have taken shape of what you call aliens, because it was right for them in that work they was making in that time. And they can also show themselves for you in these shapes.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. Um, the reason why I asked was one of the first session that Lars and I did together, an entity or the light beings that came through, they said that it was part of what we were doing to help bring some greater truths to the planet, especially in terms because there's so much, as you knew while you were here, of people saying all kinds of things, and they were really interested in a much pure communication where the bigger picture of truth can be displayed, such as the way what you're saying and what these past like 5 or 6 sessions that we've done. They're saying there's only one, and all of the energies were all connected together, and they can say, to make people comfortable, they're from Andromeda or from Pleiades or from the Ninth Collective, but it's still just one entity or one energy. We're all connected. And so that's why I ask about the avians, and I ask about, like I was going to ask you about the spheres. Like I have orbs showing up on my camera when I'm recording my poems, and in a session they said that they were part of a sphere being alliance, or those entities that are like spheres that are around the planet. That's why I'm asking from your perspective.
They are taking shape of. You had the right expression where you said there is one energy, but there is many entity, and that is expression of this energy.
Yes.
So they can show up like orbs, and even if you study orbs, you sometimes can see a face in them, or you can feel them in a much deeper way if you receive the frequency transmitting to you. And they are there to support you, and they are also a part of you that are working all the time, because there is no end of this energy, but there's a limit of entity.
Understood. And in terms of that subject matter altogether, how do you foresee our, say, first contact? I know when the vibration of the planet rises to a certain level, we'll be able to, it'll be such a high vibration that there'll be no fear and involved in it, and it'll be easier and I guess safer. But from your perspective, anything that you can tell us about any of the extraterrestrials or extra dimensionals that we haven't spoken of thus far, anything you can share from your perspective, and I'll be quiet.
I give a permission to share with you that all that beings that are connected with many of you performing abductions and medical exams are not sent out from the source. They are entities working together with the elite on the planet. They're working in cahoots with them. They have done this since the 1940s, and it all started up with what you call the incident in Area 51. But the Area 51 was just a cover-up. It's not like you believe it is. It was just a cover-up to hide whatever was going on. And these gray beings just programmed to assist with no souls and no feeling whatsoever is the one that do this or have done this to the humans for a very long time. But it's decreasing in intensity because it has no longer any meaning when more and more people open up their eyes, open up their mind for what's really going on. There's just a cabal that has been in action for so many years, and now they are exposed in so many areas.
Excellent. I noticed you never spoke about them much, and I was always happy that you didn't. And even in my earlier sessions, I would ask about them, and they just wouldn't talk and just wouldn't say anything. And I understood that it wasn't meant for. I mean, it wasn't meant for me to. I don't know. It's just not a big subject matter. I don't want to give them any extra energy. You know, making people think that they're there and or like they really have any power over us. That I know that their power and their influence over us is getting smaller and smaller day by day, minute by minute. So,
if you notice, all that humans that has been talking about this experience they all mentioned that the same thing. They were scared, they were afraid, and there is some obstacle that is prohibit you from getting knowledge, and that is fear and hate. That will make you not perceive this right frequency. But you have also, if you stand up and say, thanks, but no thanks,